recently we heard a lot of discussions about healthcare system.
Yeah, because of this coronavirus outbreak, right?
Yeah.
People have been talking about this health issues. When we hear from different people, they have a lot of opinions about their healthcare in different countries, right? Whether they're from China or from the Western country, but they never really can see from both sides. It's just like a snapshot of like how the healthcare landscape is in both areas. But obviously, it's not representative of everyone, so keep that aware when you watch.
Yeah.
My only contact with the hospital actually was for the medical check that you have to do when you arrive in the country,
Yeah.
or when you start a new job. I had to do that multiple times.
Yeah.
And I've been with my friend at the hospital, so it was never actually for my own like illness, but for my friend to help him out.
How is it? How is his experience?
I mean, it was mixed, right? So obviously, this was when we both first arrived. At the time, I was studying in Ningbo, in the city which is in Zhejiang province, sort of in the middle of country near Shanghai, and. Obviously, the city itself is quite interesting. It has one of the biggest ports in the world, and it's a very large city. But many people haven't really heard about it, especially outside China.
Yeah.
Right, so people wouldn't really know where Ningbo was. I'd certainly never heard of it when I arrived, but it's a huge city, and it expanded very fast. So because it expanded very fast, the city centre hospital was quite advanced. But actually, the hospitals that were kind of a bit further out, where our university was located, were actually originally like a hospital for the village that used to exist there.
Yeah.
So because the city had expanded very fast, the hospital perhaps that existed before in the village was not suitable for the new metropolis that now kind of engulfed it. Right. So when we got there, that was quite apparent. The building itself was quite large, but it seemed slightly understaffed. Perhaps it recently been expanded or something. And for sure, like the amount of people inside the hospital greatly overwhelmed the staff that were inside. So when we went there, the reason we went, well, my friend had had a stomach kind of issue, likely because he just arrived in China and eaten some food that his body was not really so happy about. Was kind of rejecting that food.
Possibly.
Yeah, most likely, right? So he was having like serious issues with his stomach, and it kind of persisted for a few days, and he wanted to go and get checked. So fortunately, obviously, you have that cover because, obviously, as a student, you have that medical cover. So he took advantage of that and went to a public hospital inside China, and I accompanied him as his friend. But both of us, obviously, were both from Europe. We both, he could speak German, I could speak English. But obviously, none of us could speak Chinese because we just arrived. Only a few words. Probably it'd be hard to even explain what his illness was. So what we had to do was we had to ask our Chinese friend at the time to give us a hand, actually, be able to go and see this doctor, and they were very helpful, and they managed to do all the setup for us. They managed to get in contact with the right doctor, get us that appointment exactly when we needed it, and it was very, very fast actually. The same day, the person who helped us, our friend, they managed to get an appointment with the doctor, and we got to see them. When we got in the hospital, massive building, we had to find the doctor, pretty easy to do so because there's good directions and stuff. Then we sat outside the room, and we actually had an appointment slot, like a time, and we were waiting in the queue, right, for this doctor. And we saw people going in and out and stuff, and then our time kind of came, and we went in, all three of us went in, and the door was open to enter the office, but it wasn't just us who went in, actually about 20 people went in at the same time.
Yeah.
And they all had their little book, the Kan Bing like book, right? Bing Li Ben, right? And that Bing Li Ben allowed them to kind of record their illness and get the appointment with the doctor.
Yes, like a record.
Yeah.
A record.
And everyone had this in their hand, and they're waving it like in front of the doctor, and they're saying, "Please, I want to be seen." Yeah. And obviously that was quite overwhelming because really we, as my friend, obviously he's not from China, he can't speak any Chinese. It's all very alien to him. And at the end, we managed to see him, the doctor, eventually. People were kind of around him, so he felt kind of uncomfortable because he's talking about like kind of private issue, and his kind of advice was just, you need to do a poo. That was kind of his advice. So a few days later, he was actually okay. I don't know if the poo helped or not, but it's probably just constipation. But regardless
self-recovery.
Self-recovery, exactly. So he was okay in the end, but that was kind of the experience. But I don't know, like, what your experience would be when you were perhaps in Europe, doing study, right? How you kind of experienced
I
it.
haven't used NHS, obviously. I've never been sick there.
Fortunately.
But when I was doing exchange in Europe, I also had some issues. My issues was with the dentist. I know the system is quite different. But in general, I think you need to make appointments for the call, and you need to wait sometimes for weeks. I remember when I called, I need to wait 3 weeks for my next appointment. But I was like in a really bad toothache, so I really want to see the doctor at that day. But they say if it's not like really emergency, you can just stay home. maybe observe, or if you want to use some like mouthwash to help ease the pain a little bit. When I went to the doctor, they're pretty nice. Like usually you just arrive at a time when they told you, like maybe 3:30, and then you just arrive like 5 minutes before and wait for it, and then you'll be called in. The advice I got is quite like extreme. Like when I got my toothache, they think there's an inflammation inside. So the advice I got is just like took out the tooth. I was like, but I'm just like 26 at that time. I don't want to actually lose one of my main teeth. So I asked the doctor if there's any other way that we can do it. For example, maybe reduce the inflammation by using antibiotics. But the doctor just say no.
Take it out.
And then I called my dentist back in China and asked him, so do I need to really like, that's the only way I can deal with it? And then my dentist told me there's some other like more kind of conservative treatment you can do, and we should try that first. So in the end, I saved my tooth.
By finding your own solution.
I waited. I kind of like asked for some antibiotics that my Chinese friend brought from home, and to just ease the inflammation. When it waited till I come back. That was kind of my experience. I also have friends like told me when they were in the UK, when they want to, for example, they caught a cold, and they want to go to the doctor, and you need to obviously make an appointment. And if you're in London, probably you need to wait for like more weeks.
Be some time
to actually have a doctor to check for you. And also when they got the doctor appointment, when they went to the doctor, the advice they got is just like take some vitamin C pills and go back home. So my friend was like, so I don't get any medicine or medication after all the time I've waited. I feel I'm pretty sick, but all I got is just vitamin C.
I noticed that actually the reasons people go to the hospital is quite different in both Europe and in China. Actually, I noticed that Chinese people more often go to the hospital for what would be considered in England actually minor illnesses, but Chinese people are more willing to go.
I think the Chinese people in general, especially my generation, would be more and more concerned about our health, because a lot of like outside factors are leading to more sickness in general. And also I think a lot of young people are living a relatively not so healthy lifestyles. They're like really concerned about their health. Whenever they have like a very minor like illness, like me, I would just go to the hospital. For example, a cold, like people usually go to hospitals for cold. I don't feel like comfortable just by having like vitamin C or hot water. I think I need to be prescribed with some medication that can help me to recover faster. Also like for example, if we got like a few pimples, I think it's also quite bad. Like I will go to the 皮肤科医生
dermatologist.
皮肤科医生 and then
dermatologist
to get checked. And also because I have like I'm allergic to a lot of things like pollen, and sometimes I have like rash on my face, and I also go to the doctor. So I go we like the young generation actually go to the hospital quite often. Same to some of my friends and my colleagues. They'll get a check. So even there is like really like nothing, like the doctor would just tell them just go back home, no, nothing needed, but we still want to check with doctors to make sure that is okay.
Oh, right, because you mentioned the cold, right? And the cold is not really considered an actual illness in the UK. You might be able to get like a time off school or off work, but it's not really considered like proper illness. You would never go to the the GP or the doctor about like a cold. Pimples as well, like unless it's like a full rash, like it's covering your whole face, you're not really going to go to the doctor. So you could say like maybe the kind of threshold from which people will go to the doctor is a bit lower for the average person, perhaps a bit lower in China. Than it
also, I think there's one pretty unique thing that in China that we just want to check with the traditional Chinese medicine doctor, like TCM doctor, if we feel like I don't know if you've heard of 上火 and these kind of things. For example, you feel a bit dry of your throat, and in general like a bit like headache or something, and then you feel like maybe it's a general health issue, and then you go to the TCM doctor to prescribe you some herbs to do adjustment to your body.
This is obviously very different, right, between obviously England and China. We actually have the traditional Chinese medicine on our high streets. You can find it, and it's usually just serving, Chinese, British Chinese, or maybe people from China who are living in England temporarily.
Yeah.
The average person will not go and see this traditional Chinese medicine within inside the UK.
We also believe that the food therapy, obviously, we define the food as like cold and hot. So
this concept doesn't really exist in Western places. So actually, if we call it hot food, it's physically hot, like it's going to burn your hands, and a cold food is like an ice cream. It's going to give you a headache if you eat too much.
Yeah.
We don't have the idea of like actually cold and hot foods, which is like intrinsically hot or cold.
Yeah.
So it might be, for example, let's have some examples of cold or hot foods.
Dragon fruit, it's cold. And then hot food is like, for example, lamb or beef is like quite hot.
So these would be considered hot, even if it's actually physically cold, right? So if you had a cold cut beef, right? In England, we'd say, oh, that's cold because it actually the temperature is cold.
Yeah.
But intrinsically, like the actual meat itself is considered a hot food.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter the temperature; it's still going to make you hot inside, is what Chinese believe. And I personally, after being in China and having been exposed to this concept, actually now kind of have adopted a bit of this kind of idea. I'm not really particularly worried about shangguo, but I do understand that perhaps this food is actually it's going to make me kind of feel warm, inside. 在英国看病的流程，在这个点，我觉得中国跟西方有一个很大的区别。我们大部分西方国家，他们的机构是分开这个医院跟一个 GP。如果你的病不是特别严重的病，你先去看你的 GP。在英国，每一个人他们有一个特定的 GP， 他们什么病都要先看这么 GP。这个看 GP 的时间是半个小时之内，你可以跟他聊天什么的，你可以就是问他怎么治疗我的病，然后看他怎么说，他不是开药，就让你去看一个医生。开药的话，你去一个药店，如果你要去看一个正式的病的话，这个 GP 让你定这个医生，然后你有一个固定的时间去看这个医生。对，这个医生是很专业，他是针对一种病可以治疗很好。对，但是在西方跟中国的区别在先看 GP， 后来去看医生。
在中国通常是你通过网站或者手机 APP 或者电话的方式去选择你自己喜欢的医生。通常你得先选择你要去哪个医院，那大家就会查在这一个科室上哪一个医院的排名是比较靠前的，或者是说有哪个医生是比较出名的，然后查到了之后，你去找到这个对应的医院的对应的网站或者 APP，然后对应的医生去跟他进行一个挂号。那你挂号的时候，通常是选择一个时间段，比如说3点半到4点半，然后在这个时间段内，你去找这个医生，负责这个科室的护士会帮你把这个号排在这个时间段里，然后等到时间到了，你就可以进去看这个医生。所以在中国可能是我们会直接选择去对应科室，比如说我是内科的医生或者外科的医生或者耳鼻喉科的医生或者皮肤科的医生，然后我们不会经过GP 的一个过程。
这是一个很大的区别。而且你说你看病有一个固定时间，但是在这个时间之内，可能有其他的人也来看这个病，对吧？
就是我们挂号的时间是一个时间段，而且这个时间段可能不光是你一个人，可能有几十个人同时预约了这个时间段。那你可能等到这个时间段的时候，你还得再排，就是根据你到达的先后顺序，或者是根据你挂号的先后顺序，你还会有一次排队的过程。但是因为可能前一个时间段的病人可能会花更长的时间，那你可能就需要也等待更长的时间。
对，这个跟在英国跟很不一样。在我们你看这个病的时间是一个固定时间，只有你可以看这个病，其他的人不能进这个房间，这是很不一样。然后通常你有一个固定时间是比如说半个小时，就比较 每个人都有半个小时，所以可能你只要看10分钟，然后可以走。这个医生有一个可以休息的时间，可能20分钟。如果超过的话，那你要再订一个再约看病。
就你只能用这半个小时。
对，只能用半个小时。
这半个小时就属于这个人，不管这个人有没有用完。这半个小时都是你的。
对，如果没用完的话，这个医生可以去喝一杯咖啡什么的。So this is very different actually, I feel. So obviously my experience in China, when I came here to work, I had to do a health check inside China. But in the UK, I've never actually done it. And a lot of people have never really had the whole body health check inside the UK. You can kind of book one. Not everyone really does it. It's not really required of many people. And some people aren't really concerned. You know, they don't really feel like I need to do a health check. If I feel fine, I look fine. You know, everyone else says I look fine. Then why would I go to the health check? So no one really does it, even though it would be covered on the NHS if you wish to do so.
But the GP will kind of know all the information about your health history. So if you have any problems before, there is someone who actually knows about it, and you can always talk to him or her about your general health history.
Yeah, because when you see this GP, general practitioner, right, in like your local vicinity, he's basically assigned to you. He's going to be with you for as long as he's doing the job, as long as you don't complain about him and want to change the GP. So actually you kind of assign this GP and you see them maybe for like over a decade. They're going to be familiar with you, and if they're not familiar with you, then they have a computer with your history on there, and they can see all of the times you've been to see the GP, or you've been to see the doctor over that history. And there's a lot of notes in there and stuff. And I've been before. I remember when I was a kid, I had like one GP. Won't say his name. I had this GP. And then, I saw him for a while, and then, there was like a period of time where actually I hadn't seen the doctor, and I hadn't seen the GP. I came back, and it's a different one. And then suddenly he knew everything about me already. So actually, that was obviously very surprising, but also very, very fortunate, because then he knew how to properly treat me, because he knows everything about my history.
So in China, usually we maintain these by regular health checks, but I feel like it only applies to like people with a regular job. For example, my company will provide, like some other companies as well, will provide like an annual health check that you can go to a health check center to do like full body health check. So you do blood, you do like urine test, you do some CT scans. You can also choose to add more if you need.
Advanced version.
Yeah, like for example, before I have like this tumor mark exam that they took like some blood, and then they will check like the tumor mark.
Check if you have cancer or something. They're going to check if you have tumor presence.
It's like a sign of you might have cancer. It's not like a way of diagnosing. When you go to a new job, sometimes the company will ask you to do like a health check as well, and provide them of your health record. Generally, more and more people tend to do health checks every year. It might be paid by the company, but usually the one is quite simple. If it's paid by the company, or you can pay by yourself and do a more thorough one. But we don't have like a doctor unless you are going through a certain treatment that actually know the whole history about your health. So you need to check with different doctors with different disease, and if you follow up with the same doctor, you might know your history about this certain disease.
Obviously, both countries, in the UK and China, they're both like state-funded, the medical thing, but there is a bit of difference in many different areas, right? So in the UK, obviously, you have the NHS, which is probably well known throughout the world, National Health Service, for providing like a top quality treatment to British people. A few years ago, probably a decade or so ago, they actually made the dentist now is actually private, so you have to pay for the dentist, which before was all covered as well. And when you get a prescription, so the doctor or the GP, they prescribe some drugs, actually you have to pay for that. All the drugs have a fixed price of £7.25. It fluctuates every so often, so it could actually be updated now. This price gets you any drug that you've been prescribed. So, if the drug the unit price was £100, you only pay £7.25 for that. Alongside that, actually, in the UK, they also have some private hospitals as well. So obviously, unfortunately, even though the NHS is great, it sometimes does get overwhelmed, especially now we've got like an aging population, and you've got an influx of many new people into the country. Obviously, there's more people now on the NHS as a larger burden. So sometimes the waiting times are very long. So some people have a bit of extra money lying around. They actually choose to then see a private healthcare provider. For example, Bupa is probably I think it's the second biggest healthcare provider in the UK. So you've got like a serious disease. people will actually choose to use this provider because you're going to see the doctor straight away instead of maybe in the NHS waiting some time. On top of that, one good thing about the NHS actually is that anyone inside England can use it.
So in China, we also the model we use is state insurance plus commercial insurance. Around 95% of the people are now covered by state insurance. This is divided into the corporate insurance, which means that the people who work for companies. They usually pay like a certain percentage themselves, usually a few hundred kwai, which is maybe
a few hundred kwai or a few £100.
No.
A couple of
like maybe
10
40,
pounds.
50 pounds per month. But then the company also need to pay a certain percentage as a plus.
Mm-hmm.
So you both pay for the insurance of the employee. You can also pay by yourself, and usually the amount is much less than the corporate one. So you pay probably like 50, 60 pounds per year, let's say. The insurance just covers the very necessary needs of yours. Only the effective medicine with reasonable price for treatment will be covered in the insurance. But all the additional medicine you need to pay yourself. So usually, like for common illness, it's quite affordable. That's the insurance will reimburse a big portion of the fee that you pay. The whole system is quite complicated, so I'm not going to explain all, because all the reimburse rate is also a bit different, depending on which hospital you go to, how much you paid for your insurance, and which city you're in. So it all varies a lot. But the result is that for general illness, it's quite affordable, I think. But for the major, like more serious disease like cancer, leukemia, it will be still quite a burden for the family. I think only around maybe 40 or 50% of the treatment fee can be reimbursed if it's quite serious disease. But usually those fees are quite high. So
yeah, in UK the cost is all covered except from the dentist and if you've got a prescription for a drug. If the doctor prescribes a drug for you, then you have to pay the cost of the drug, which is fixed at about 70 kwai, like £7 roughly. That's for any drug that you get. So the NHS itself actually hasn't always been around. It originated after World War II when the new Labour government with Clement Attlee at its head came in. They were elected after World War II because you have the destruction of the war and obviously very many destitute people with a lot of need. And one of his policies, which are very socialist in nature, one of his policies was to actually implement the National Health Service, where anyone in the UK could see a doctor and get healed for free. And China has a similar stance on this, right? Because it's also a socialist country, and anyone can also see it for free. And it's one of the policies of the ruling party.
We want to cover 100% of the population, but because the population is really big and also the country has gone through like the transformation period of time, so there are a lot of reform that we have conducted. So the recent reform we had is to reduce the price of medicine we pay. Instead, we increase the service fee. So the pharmaceutical companies need to give up some of their benefits and profits in order to better support the hospitals and doctors. And that's like the recent summary.
Let's summarize. So I think the main takeaway, right, is that obviously each of the health system is very suited to the particular country, right? So in China, I feel that obviously one of the main kind of characteristics of China that everyone knows is the population is so big. There's so many people, right? There's over 1.3 billion people here. So obviously it's suited for that particular environment. And obviously you've got so many people, the key thing you want to have is efficiency and scale. And I think China does that very well in its health service.
其实我们在对比之后发现，不管是中国的医疗体系还是英国的医疗体系，都有自己的特色，而且这些特色都是根据自己国家的情况去制定的。那可能在英国，虽然很多人抱怨你可能很难去跟一个医生及时的约上你的这个门诊，但是它的目的在于保障所有的人都有机会可以去用这个医疗体系，保障所有的人在生病的时候都不会因为比如说付不起他不敢去医院那他可以有更多的人在他们需要的时候去看到这个医生。
Exactly. Okay, thank you very much for watching, everyone, and please let us know in the comments about your own experiences you've had in your medical systems in your country, and if there's any other topics you want us to discuss in the future, perhaps you can leave comments down below, and maybe actually I think we've already started, right? Maybe I think there'll be no one watching anyway, right? So
yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you learnt as well during this discussion. We're going to continue this series with lots of new topics, so stay tuned. And if you have any comments about the medical care in your own country, or any opinions you want to share, or perhaps comments you want to leave, please leave them in the comments below, and we'll be checking them and responding, and perhaps mention them in further videos of the series.